l'Europe dans le monde, eh bien, c'est à vous, cher monsieur, que revient la lourde tâche de nous expliquer ça. Et c'est François Fischer, qui est au Collège de renseignement en Europe, qui va vous introduire de quelques mots. Et on s'arrête à 17h30 pétante, puisque nous avons la retransmission d'Emmanuel Kiva, le DGA. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. C'est un plaisir pour le Collège du renseignement en Europe d'inviter le docteur Gerhard Conrad, longtemps directeur de cabinet du président du BND, négociateur pour des Hamas-Hezbollah, mais surtout directeur de EU INSEN pendant 4 ans, de venir nous parler des développements du renseignement en Europe à cette période liée à un changement de paradigme important, ce qu'en allemand on dit « Nachrichtendienstwende ». Et donc, il va vous évoquer les évolutions du renseignement en Europe et ce que nous devons faire pour survivre à ces évolutions ou les progrès que nous devons engager. Je vais lui donner immédiatement la parole parce qu'il a 20-25 minutes devant lui. Il nous parlera, malgré sa connaissance du français, mais il nous parlera en anglais. I hope it will be good for you and there will be no translation. So, the floor is yours, Dr. Conrad.
Yeah. Thank you very much, dear Francois, and thank you for your interest. And indeed, I'm speaking here concerning this topic in view of my former activity and position as Director INSEN between 2016 and 2019. So it's quite some years ago, but as I'm quite aware of, the things have not changed too much. Meanwhile, and the question, of course, I want to discuss a little bit is whether the changing times, the changing tides of security politics nowadays, and just the last weeks gave this situation a new and irritating twist, to say the least, whether Europe, whether the EU, you know that's not necessarily the same, but whether Europe is well advised to become more self-reliant, whether they are able to do so, what role the EU has played until now in organizing intelligence for member states, because there is, possibly not every one of you is aware of, there are structures in the European Union, mainly in the European External Action Service, since years, not to say since more than 2 decades, in the Council and then the ES, that provide finished intelligence, civil and military intelligence, internal and external intelligence to European decision makers and to member states. And so I would like to first just start a little bit in making you familiar with these structures and their role and their significance and their insignificance as well, what they can do, what they're supposed to do, and what they are not supposed and are not able to do. And then in a second part of my small interlocution, just to ask ourselves what to do now in order to become more self-reliant. You're following, and you will be following in the next 2 days as well, all the discussions on improving military structures, military production, improving military capabilities. But you should, of course, very much bear in mind that prior to make use of military equipment of the military as such, you do need what? You do need intelligence. Because if you don't have intelligence on your adversary and its capabilities, its intention, the battlefield, the political one as well as the military one, if you don't know it, if you don't know it in detail, if you don't know it in advance, you will be utterly ill-prepared. And it's not only Sun Tzu, but Sun Tzu is very often quoted just in military science, strategic science, and our dear friend Sun Tzu, it's only 2,400 years ago, already said, know your enemy. Only if you know your enemy, you stand a good chance to be successful in war. He focuses always on war, but you know that very often the clash of interests whatsoever, you need know your adversary. And if you are entering your battle, the military or another one, ill-prepared, you will lose out, although you have the most significant hardware. If you are too stupid to make use of it, and stupid means in that sense you master your hardware, but you are using it, you're employing it in a battlefield which does not exist, in a battlefield which you do not understand because you don't know the facts and figures and the context, then you are going to lose. And I just want to mention this, the most recent example of lacking intelligence, just diminishing significantly military, let's say, capabilities or military chances of success. And, you know, it's what our dear friends, the Americans, have been doing with the Ukrainians just during the last, let's say, 4 days, 5 days. It's just minor things, things you tend to overlook. It's not taking away 20 F-16 or not taking away, let's say, 200 main battle tanks or something like that. It's just withholding essential signal intelligence and imagery intelligence from the Ukrainian armed forces, with which effect they are not anymore able to learn in time when bombers or cruise missiles or ballistic missiles start or being launched far away in Russia. Nobody can look into Russia, let's say the Ukrainians more than 200-300 kilometers with their own airborne means, then it's done. You need satellites. And you need satellites of a certain quality and a satellite network of a certain intensity. If you have a satellite, you possibly know, the satellite is over a spot all 24 hours in the old days. So you need a constant surveillance in order, first of all, to identify and locate launches as such, and then you know, whoops, something has been launched, but where it's going to go, what destination, and so on and so on, and when it is then expected to impact in a target, you can't do with a single picture or 2 or 3 pictures. You need a constant let's say, monitoring of the process, and for that you need a certain structure of satellites, quite a high number of satellites, which are always there. So you see, and this is a capability which is nearly unique with the United States due to the sheer number of satellites in action over ground, let's say. So, you see. So that means, in practical terms, you receive vital intelligence, tactical intelligence, late or too late. And you are not anymore able to optimize your air defenses or trigger the alarm for your civilians. The warning time will be too short for a significant defense. It's just the lack of intelligence, a specific kind of intelligence. So you see, it's intelligence which is decisive for winning or losing a battle, and if things go very wrong, for winning or losing a war. It's very often overlooked. Intelligence is not a side product, but it is, let's say, the prerequisite for substantial preparation, strategic preparation. You, France, any country, is preparing for contingencies. What is a contingency? A contingency is an event, mostly a negative one, which is being defined, it's sometimes as well called a scenario. But these scenarios you will have, if they are supposed to be significant, you will have to base it on knowledge. Prior knowledge today for the dangers of tomorrow, in order to prepare, in order, for example, to produce, let's say, then to put it in the military field, to produce the relevant weapon system. Otherwise, you are ill-prepared due to the fact that you did not understand the threats emanating in the years to come. So that's the essence of intelligence. of intelligence mean collecting information which you normally don't get, because everyone is, of course, trying to hide his own, let's say, treasures away in order to prepare for the future. I just stress this point because, as I said, intelligence is very often overlooked. You are looking, not you, but let's say we are looking to the spectacular issues, the items, the weapon systems, and so on. They are worth nothing if they are not adequately equipped with intelligence-based capabilities. That is the same, for example, with the so-called ELINT, the electronic intelligence, just to act, this is an additional issue. Fighters, fighter bombers, and so on, they would not survive if they had not the sufficient electronic countermeasures and electronic countermeasures aboard. That means those electronic devices which suppress the air defenses of your adversary, or suppress on the ground, so the anti-aircraft rockets, and suppress the capabilities of your adversary in air. Yeah? If you are dogfighting, so the one who has the better electronic devices aboard has a chance to be superior. So these devices will have to be updated. Because this is an electronic battle, so you have certain frequencies, you have certain, let's say, gadgets which are able to suppress your capabilities today, but you will, let's say, update your defenses. It's as with a firewall, you know this in IT. And the next day, if you come up with your dated electronic countermeasures, you will fail. So these things will have to be updated. The F-16, the Ukrainians are flying, their ELO-pods, so their electronic devices are being updated in America. So if you withhold the updates of the electronic device, you make the F-16 useless. So just to give you this example, why intelligence is vital in the narrow sense of the word, in terms of conflict. So we will have to look now, since we have this major challenge for European countries, for Europe, how to deal with the situation where we possibly cannot trust anymore in the loyalty of our major supporter in intelligence terms. So you know that people are thinking to not anymore buy American stuff. This are thinking loudly. And the same question then arises, of course, what will European countries do in the field of intelligence? How to become more self-reliant. And here, the European Union, as you know, is a body which, interestingly enough, has been providing structures which are helping decision-making. You know that the EU, as such, has no own intelligence. It's not mandated, it's not equipped to have it. But the European Union has structures which member states driven, also France, by the way, is from among the founding fathers of these structures. These are the Intelligence Assessment Center of the European Union, the EU INTCEN, and it is in the EU military staff as well, something which had been created in 1999, a J2 directorate, which is very often called UMS, European Military Staff Intelligence Directorate. You have a military intelligence, strategic intelligence directorate, you have a civil intelligence directorate. And they are living from the support of member state services. Most of the member state services are supporting EU INTCEN or UMS INT on a voluntary basis. That's not always brilliant, but it is more than you sometimes might expect. The products of, let's say, EU INTCEN and UMS INT, as I said, in strategic intelligence, are being the basis for the Political and Security Committee in the European Foreign Affairs Council. They are as well supporting or informing the President of the EU Commission. They are supporting all member states, by the way. And the smaller member states of the European Union, which do not have intelligence services looking with a global outlook, and don't have embassies, for example, as well, in quite a lot of countries, they are working on the basis, when it comes to situation awareness abroad, on the basis of EU INTCEN, UMS INT, and NATO reporting and analysis. They say it themselves. It's not a kind of, interested comment by the structures. They do it because they don't have anything else. And the quality on that level, on that strategic level, is indeed not that bad. This does not help, of course. Quite frankly speaking, it does not help in making intelligence in terms of tradecraft stronger. The holders of tradecraft in intelligence are the nation states and their services. But the European Union has already, and you know that it's in terms of defense industry, it's just starting to become a little bit more relevant with this commissioner on defense, which again is not the defense in military terms proper, but in terms of defense production, in terms of defense industries, in terms of defense budget. And this will be, if you follow the news, will be a multi-billion enterprise, more than it had been already planned by 2024. We are now entering, and if you're just looking into the decisions and promises, sometimes only, but the decisions of not only the presidency of the Commission, but as well of member states, and I may even mention my poor country, Germany, which possibly comes up with 500 billion special budget for military. Well, you see, that might become then, in 10 years' time, it might become then a relevant military power. But you see, we have, due to the shocks, all of us have been suffering now for the last 12 months at least. The shocks had been before, as you know, but nobody was really reactive. But, well, we are now in a situation that everyone asks himself, how can we do better? And if you look at Europe, I just want to open your eyes a little bit that there is there is substance matter even. And it would be worth the pain, and I would recommend to those who are now running a little bit European affairs to see what about stock taking of existing capabilities and exploring their potential for civil military intelligence collection. You know the EU has own satellite systems. They are not being tasked yet for military information collection, but they could do so in technical terms, or they could be optimized. So one of the easy questions, or one of the very simple steps would be to say, okay, what do we have? We have the Copernicus, we have the Galileo, we have the Sentinel satellites, and so on. It's all running quite well. It's quite good stuff. We will have to see, you will have to see, whether it can be involved into, for example, satellite imagery intelligence, because EMINT and GeoINT, but EMINT especially, will be of vital importance if we have to put a question mark behind American satellite collection and support. What can we do? So on the national level, France has its some satellites. Germany is going to have some satellites. It's small numbers, as you possibly know. They are good, but they are few. And as I said, if you want to have dynamic pictures, if you want to follow a situation, if you want to have situation awareness, you need quite a lot of constant monitoring pictures. And not only a photo-optical one, but there are lots of sensors from radar to infrared and others, which you can put. You also can make SIGINT from satellites. I doubt whether, I don't know, but I doubt whether in Europe, the European countries, not the European Union, but European countries, do have major satellite capabilities in signal intelligence collection. I doubt, because these are then very spectacular, huge antennas which you will have to spread in order then to get the very weak signals from the Earth in space. The question is something there around? Are there projects and programs which could be redefined in a relatively short time? Because we are not speaking to become good or better in 10 years' time or 5 years' time. We are speaking about getting better this year, next year, the year after. Not in a kind of global capability, but let's say in the framework of a pretty well-defined, let's say, catalog of risks. Mainly military ones, but not only. So, having stock-taking here, having stock-taking as well concerning EU cyber capabilities. The EU has a CERT, of course. The EU has the ENISA. Here as well, there are strong cyber capabilities, of course, tasked for cybersecurity. Nothing more. You know, if you are engaged in cybersecurity, that this is a double-edged sword. Defense and offense are sometimes very close together. Again, the question is, there has been lots of investment during the last 5 to 10 years. The question is, why not just thinking about, and not only thinking about, let's say, actively checking whether this is an option. I don't know whether it is one, but it should be checked. You have in the European Commission the GRC, the Joint Research Center. And here as well, there are huge capabilities in cyber. You have potentially huge capabilities in open source and social media collection and analysis already in place in several parts, either Commission or in a limited framework in the INCEN as well. So you see that beyond INCEN and UMS-INT and the EU Satellite Center, which is a brilliant analytical center in Torrejón, close to Madrid, which is working on the basis of member states' contributions on IMINT and commercial satellite imagery. You have, in principle, capabilities, analytical capabilities, but as well collection capabilities, which had not yet been tasked for military or security relevant collections, which you would be, or we would be, well advised to check as soon as possible. And this is then a kind invitation to, of course, the Commission, to the Council, that means to the Member States, just to create not another, committee, but let's say a small working group, I would call. Of course, you need a working group, in following up such lines of scrutiny within the EU and in close then cooperation and connection with member states, with interested member states. I could imagine that, let's say, previously not militarily or security defined capabilities in the European Union would be of value for improving our common resilience and, as I said, capabilities. There are, as you know, and this is my final statement, there are ideas of creating, for example, a CIA-like intelligence agency within the framework of the European Union. There are as well initiatives now to create something like the 5 Eyes, but now European ones, 4 Eyes or 4 plus, I don't know how many eyes. these initiatives are good in the sense of showing that something will have to be done, but it is nothing of relevance for this year, next year, and the year, let's say, after. That means, imagine you have something wonderful, and the war has been lost before. So we have to start with what we have in our hands, and that, I think, is the closing word on this happy note.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Merci beaucoup pour votre intervention.